interview with Jordana Goodman. So, Jordana, tell me,
Hi.
how did you start in cooking? How did you start this business?
Okay, well, I think I was inspired at a very young age because I know that we're programmed at a very young age. And if I wanted to spend time with my mother, I had to be in the kitchen. In fact, I actually had to help her. So I think that's where my interest started, which I think is a really good thing for kids, not just to kind of be forced. If you want to spend time with me, do what I do, but to be exposed to working in a kitchen, because I think everybody should be self-sufficient in a kitchen and know how to feed themselves. So that was the start of my passion for cooking. And my mother would take me to farmers markets to shop for fresh produce and health food stores. I grew to love the smell of the health food stores. I still, if I go to a health food store, I'm like, this is home. I love it. That's where it began. What else? When I got married, I was known to enjoy cooking, so I was offered a position as a private chef for all the employees that worked at his company. And from there, I just went on. I liked it so much and started my own business, takeout soup business, a catering business, more personal chef work. I worked in schools. I pioneered hot lunch programs, like healthy hot lunch programs. I had a lot of kids who didn't like me in the beginning, but some of them throughout the years would come up to me and go, do you know that you're the first person that introduced me to quinoa? And they would eat salads because of me. So that makes me really, that warms my heart to know that I can influence people in a healthy way to eat because of the work that I'm doing. So it's also another way that I connect with my community, because I am the caterer in the community that I live in Southern California.
So the cooking that you do for your work and for your business,
Mm-hmm.
is that any different than the cooking that you do at home for your family?
Good question. I would say the cooking I do for my family and my home was kind of what inspired me to become an intuitive chef. And what an intuitive chef is somebody who connects to their own intuition and utilizes their senses to cook, as opposed to relying on menus, because I like to create. Cooking is an opportunity for me to be creative. So anytime I'm in my own kitchen at home or anywhere I go, it's my comfortable place. It's my comfort zone. I love being in the kitchen. So I don't see it as a chore ever to cook for my family. I see cooking as an opportunity to nourish people, nourish myself, and nourish others. So I get to put my love and intention into the food that I create wherever I go.
And the food that you create at home for your family, is it the same kind of food that you would be creating for your clients, or is there any difference?
Good question. Well, I am a kosher, I live in a kosher household. I keep kosher. I'm known as a kosher chef. Occasionally I get people with different degrees of keeping kosher, kashrut. Sometimes I cook for vegetarians. I have a lot of clients that have alternative diets. So it's kind of enabled me to be a better chef by taking on those jobs. Do I cook differently? Not necessarily. I really like to practice what I preach. So if I'm preaching eating nutritious, healthy food, I feel like that has to be an integral part of my life also. So I would say it's pretty much the same.
And in your kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
what are the 3 tools or things that you have in your kitchen that you think everybody should have in a functioning kitchen?
Well, you'd be lost without your hands. It's the best tool. I know people like spoons and they don't like to touch things, or some people wear gloves. These are my favorite tools. Hi, how you guys doing? High five. My favorite tool here is this hand. The other one is a knife. I'm not this chef who's like, here's my knives, I go everywhere with them. I'm like, give me a cutting board, like a surface, and a knife that's sharp enough that it's effective. That's enough. I'm not very high maintenance when it comes to tools in the kitchen. I would not want to be in a kitchen though without a food processor and a blender, because you can achieve so much with those small appliances that it's hard to do without them. So I would say those are my must-have. I also have like a handheld mandolin. I love that also. Those are the necessities for me.
What about ingredients? If you have ingredients that are your go-to ingredients that you can find that can stretch out into almost every meal that you prepare, what would that look like?
So I am a person who likes to not shop frequently. I think once a week is what I do, and I encourage some of my cooking clients to do, because it allows you to plan what you're going to cook for the week. Some people don't. They'll go to the grocery stores like 3 times a week, 2 times a week, 4 times a week, and then they're in the middle of cooking going, shoot, I don't have what I need. I like to go to the store, buy all my proteins, buy my vegetables, buy my herbs. That's my inspiration. And it's almost like a game, like how can we use all these ingredients? So I'm a big believer in stocking your refrigerator and your pantry with the items that you can use all the time. So the base of my cooking for sure is vegetables. Always have to have garlic, always have to have onions, always have to have ginger. I love shallots. Gotta have oil all the time. Lemon juice, things like that that I cook with, my condiments, I always have stocked. I don't really run out of it. And if I do, it's a good sign, because that means I'm using it up, so.
And if you were to be able to explain your method of cooking or how you are different
Okay.
from the other chefs that are out there, how would you do that?
Words that describe me. I'm definitely spontaneous. I'm definitely creative. I'm confident. I feel really empowered in the kitchen. A lot of chefs work with recipes or work from recipes. I really rely on my intuition, as I said earlier, and my senses to guide me. You know, when people rely on a recipe or a cookbook or somebody telling them what to do, they don't really learn how to cook. They learn how to follow a recipe, which, don't get me wrong, it's important. Sometimes I use recipes as references, especially if it's something I haven't cooked a lot, as a guideline, as a tool, as a point of reference. But I like to use my senses. That's what makes me different, is I like to use, and I like to teach others, use your nose. Smell. If something smells done, it's probably done. If you can hear the oil crackling or the food sizzling, unless you're like frying something, the fire's too high. Use your mouth, of course, to taste. Use your eyesight for visuals. How does it look? And that's what I think makes me different. And like I said, I trust myself. So usually when you trust yourself, you produce good things that you're proud of.
And if someone was working with you, or if you were teaching somebody how to cook, someone who's not very familiar or confident in the kitchen, what would they learn from you? What would they be taking away from you and the way you cook?
So I would say the first thing is that they need to trust themselves. Because if you go into, well, anything in life, but if you go into, let's say, a kitchen and you say to somebody, I'm not a very good cook. Well, guess what? You're not trusting yourself. And other people go, oh, okay, so I'm gonna eat before I get there or after I leave, right? What your intention is in your thoughts transfers over to your actions, because thoughts create your feelings and your feeling creates your actions or your beliefs. And so if you have thoughts of, I'm gonna be creative, I'm gonna use this as a mindful space, as a creative space, maybe even as a meditative space, a place where I can be in tune with myself. If I go into it with that mindset, then you actually can feel the love that's implemented in somebody's cooking, and at least mine. People say they can feel the love, and I do. I put 100% of my love, and the energy that I want people to receive is what I have to put into it.
So if you were to give tips
Mhm.
to someone, you'd say cook with love, cook with intention.
That's
What would you say to someone who wants a general tip that you would say that is imparting your wisdom to them?
Okay, so I would say cook with intention. Sometimes I'm like, I'm an intentional cook. What does that mean? Know where what you want your end result to be, right? Sometimes, and I guess if you're following a recipe, you're like, I know what it's going to be because the book tells me so. But excuse me, if you're learning to rely on your own creativity or ingredients that you already have stocked, you might not know where you're going to go. But before you actually turn on the fire or make the cuts with your knife, you kind of have to know where you want it to go, what you want it to look like. So again, having the right mindset of what you want to create is the first step. And you have to trust yourself that you know how to get there. Using your knife maybe in a creative way or a different way, meaning having different cuts, having different thick and thin slices, makes a big difference in how you cook, how long it takes to cook, what it's going to look like. So the intention is very important. And I just, when people say to me, like, what herbs should I use? Should I not use? I'm a big believer in exploring the things you like or you want to know about. You also have to taste along the way. That's another tip I would give. You need to season in the beginning. You need to taste it. When you add more layers of ingredients, you need to season it again and taste it. And taste along the way. I think that's the other piece. So having the right intent, trusting yourself, allowing yourself the freedom to be creative, and tasting your food and seasoning your food, so important.
So would you say you don't teach people how to feed themselves, but more how to nourish themselves?
Absolutely. I mean, we nourish ourselves in many different ways. Food is one way, because I'm a big believer in nourishing your body and actually feeding your soul. Because I believe that we're a soul that has a body, not just a body that, well, maybe there's a soul, maybe there's not. But one way to nourish yourself is through food. I mean, there's lots of ways we nourish ourselves. We nourish ourselves through creativity. We nourish ourselves by listening to what it is we feel that we need that's giving us energy versus taking away. So to me, that's what nourishment comes down to, is what is giving me energy versus taking away. And so when you're cooking mindfully with ingredients that actually are nurturing to your body, you nourish your body in a very healthy way.
Well, thank you very much, Jordana.
You're welcome. If I had to leave you with 2 tips besides food, ways that you can better your health and nourish yourself, is drink water all the time. Leaves your palate nice and clean. Also, like drink in between tasting. But you can do the most for your body by drinking water and breathing. We forget because it's something that just comes natural, but breathing can calm you at any moment. So when you're cooking, as I mentioned, it's a time that you can create a meditative state. Make sure you're well hydrated throughout your day and breathe. So